Hi, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Amanda.
and we are serving up
All that jam. A lighthearted look at the weekend jam bands.
where we break down the jam scene's biggest stories,
Talk new bands.
upcoming tours,
And show reviews. A little laughing, some hot takes, and an always positive message for the community.
Catching up with McDonald.
We're joined today by Matthew McDonald of Perpetual Groove, and we last talked to you, I guess, end of April last year, so we're pushing a year, and you had a lot of stuff happen that we want to jump into, but why don't we start with this? In December of last year, you put out a single, Fiery Skies, which I totally missed. It didn't hit my radar, but you're a veteran. This song was written by a veteran. You have someone come in and sing on it for you. You want to talk a little bit about it and how that came to be?
Sure. From the very beginning, it was a very different kind of thing. Pod Songs, which is a podcast, approached us, and they have an artist, interview someone that they find to be inspirational for in their own lives. And so I had John Lubecki was the first person I thought of over the pandemic. Like most folks, we saw How to Change Your Mind on Netflix, and it resonated deeply with my wife and I, who both met in the military. And so when that opportunity presented itself and John said yes, I ended up, it might have been right before or after we spoke. It was last April. I got to sit down with John in DC, and he ended up staying for the whole night. We ended up hanging out after the show, and, we still keep in touch regularly. So after that, we wrote the song, and it was really clear that we needed a female voice. The first part wasn't landing with any male singing it for some reason or another. It's just, I think when we talked last time, you have to listen to the song first, and the song was screaming at us that it was not, that top section was not landing with a male. And, we're fortunate enough to have a great relationship with Ansley, and she's like a mega talent in Atlanta. And, it worked out great. So that's how Fiery Skies came to be. As far as the release was a little different because of that as well, being in conjunction with Pod Songs. So,
Right. Now, this is something that's going to just exist as it does, or is it something that may pop up someday in a set list?
It'd be great to have it pop up in a set list. I don't think anyone's close to that idea. I'll be honest, after we did it in the studio, it was kind of done. Right. We haven't touched it since, but it's definitely, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't play it.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. So more studio stuff, something special, I guess, happened, last Friday?
Yeah, last Friday.
On the 15th, that would be March 15th, since this is going to be later.
Yeah, March 15th, we put out Sea of Freaks. The way they do it on these distributors now, if you're under 4 songs, I think, it's still a single release. And so that was great because we wanted to do it kind of like the old 45s, where you had a companion tune with the single. So it worked out perfect as a single release. The single itself is Black Sheep, but Sea of Freaks is a better title for I guess, little EP or whatever it is, the dual songs, than Black Sheep. So we ran with that. But it was exciting to get 2 new tunes out for sure.
Now, is it a whole band writing credit, or did somebody specifically bring the ideas in for them?
It's a whole band writing credit, but I mean, for Black Sheep, Brock and Adam, Brock was staying at Adams for a few days, and they kind of came out with that. And then Darren and I sunk in on it. Then we, of course, all 4 sat together as we were getting towards the final pieces. But it was born during the pandemic for sure, because we weren't all in the same place when its inception happened. And then Sea of Freaks is really just leaving Adam alone for a while in the studio, and that falls out. So, because it's pretty much an Adam Perry start to finish on that. Everybody has little pieces, little touches, but yeah, that was really Adam being left alone with his devices. So.
When we met the last time, did we talk about, I can't remember if we talked about the 20th anniversary edition of Sweet Oblivious Antidote. I don't know if we did.
Okay.
How has that been received? Just thinking of studio
Great.
work. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. Have
Yeah,
you?
it's been exciting. I think it was probably a little after we talked that we actually got the vinyl in hand. So yeah, it's great. The reception's been far beyond what we could have expected, for sure. Fortunately, the good folks at Homegrown Music Network, Lee and Brian and everybody at Harmonize, they did understand how it would be received. So it's been really great. We're bringing some out to Denver this week for the first time. So we're going to do Sweet Oblivious actually on Thursday night, but I think we're going to do it. Well, this airs after Colorado, so we're going to do it in reverse order, because it turns out, especially the 20th anniversary edition is going to make for a far better flow for a live show than the actual album itself. So we've had that theory. We're going to bring it to test on Thursday.
So what did you change, or what? I guess I should say, what did you do anything in terms of the production of it?
Oh, for the vinyl release? Yeah, I mean, it was a complete remix. It was actually quite a task. We had to get the 3 old original decks that it was recorded on and bring them to these folks that are up in Buford, Georgia. And right now, the company that extracted all of it for us from the tape to digital, right now they're doing like Library of Congress. They have the PBS. They have these rows and rows of film that was all the old Austin City Limits back to the very first episode that they were digitizing. So we got to bring it to them, and they did a phenomenal job. There's only one piece of the tape that we just couldn't get a clean extraction on. It was the drums for the song Perihelion. So while we were recording the 2 new songs that we put on it from that era out here in Suburban Speedball, we had Darren do new drums on Perihelion. But other than that, it was a complete remix, complete remaster from the ground up. So.
Wow, that's got to be so cool to hear that or experience that now. I mean, amazing.
It got to a point where I was like, it was hard to separate myself from, fortunately we have a producer and everything, but I was sitting in for pretty much all the session. When you hear yourself playing 20 years ago and the decisions you instinctively make different now, it's hard to maybe remove yourself from not being emotional about it and being strictly analytical. But that's why you have a producer and engineer and everybody in the room as well. So.
Congrats on that. I mean, that's one of my favorite from that era. It stood the test of time too. I mean, I'm so glad that you all did that.
Thank you. I hope more people start to realize that the digital was remixed and remastered as well. Those old playlist files, they're still like the old 2003 releases still showing up on all the Spotify. I'm like, there's a better version out there now, but hopefully with time we'll see what happens.
So were you not happy with the original mix as it stood?
We were young and green and listened to people, even though our ears were telling us different at the time, and maybe didn't understand the power of no yet. And we would have made some different decisions even then, I think, with where the mix landed. And we had some, like Jason Huffer, for instance, was one of the people that had been sitting there through the whole mix, and he's like, I think you need to take it mix again. But then there were powers that be. Like I said, we didn't really understand our own power yet, but
you could have done.
We've always had a little bit of issues, especially the drums were out of phase on the original. I'll just say it now that it's over. Right. They were out of phase on the original, so it's bothered the ears for a long time. So I'm glad it's fixed, but at the same time, I'm just more excited about the new stuff.
You could. It's almost like the Taylor version, huh?
But there was a real discussion that led that way at one point, but that we didn't want to go that far with it. So getting to remix it for the 20th worked out just right. We were busy making other stuff between then, right. So
these songs, the songs have changed over the years, right? Played live all these times. So was that weird here going back and listening to the original idea?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like expecting parts to happen, especially on something like Teakwood Bets or Sundog, even there's now different gears that are shifted to pretty regularly, and none of that is really there. But it's a snapshot in time, and I'm glad so many people love it. We definitely love it. I don't sit around and listen to it, especially since the remix. We had to listen to it a few times, but I love that it means so much to so many people. That's been obvious, especially over the course of the last year with the 20th anniversary. There's been some really kind words that have been said about it. So that's awesome to see.
Yeah, very nice. So, playing live, you recently were on a boat somewhere, weren't you?
We did. We got to do Jam Cruise 20. It was great. It was great. We've done it a few times. It had been quite some time. I think it had been 12 years since, maybe somebody told me that. So don't fact check me on it, but that sounds about right. And these were without a doubt the two best showings we had on the boat. Like both sets we were happy with. We had some great guests, like Daniel Donato sat in on the second night, Matt from Talk, Andrew Trongoni. There's this guy, John Lloyd out of Asheville, is a monster trombone player, sat in on both sets as well. And of course, Ansley Stewart was on the boat with us. And so we did Islands in the Stream on the pool deck, which was just great. Yeah, it was great. It was a moment. So.
That's one of those where I feel like the artists truly have as much, if not more fun than the attendees. I don't know your thoughts, but I mean, it's just incredible what happens on that boat.
It's great. Yeah, it was blessed. I mean, the Daniel Donato thing happened. Brock and I ponied up for the Wi-Fi on the boat so we could all stay in touch with each other. And he texted me. He's like, hey, I kind of ran into Daniel Donato, blah, 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 digging in there. I'm like, he's sitting at the table right next to me. We're having dinner. Like, he's right there. I'll ask him real quick. And so, an hour later, he's on stage with us type thing. So that can't happen in a lot. I mean, sometimes in the festival environment, you can get stuff, but to have it be that spontaneous within the hour is pretty rare. And the boat facilitates that for sure.
So how do you pick the song you do?
We knew he could rip Digging in the Dirt. Like, it was like a no-brainer. All of us had seen him sit in throughout the week. Like the first night when he sat in with the Mo on the pool deck, I think the name of the song is Breathe, or maybe it's just Breathe, but it's an Eddie Vedder tune. And it was next level. It elevated the entire deck. So, but Daniel's like that. Anyone he sits in with, he's going to, elevate the game for sure. And my favorite out of everyone, to be a little biased, Dwayne Betts sat in on Pepper, the Butthole Surfers tune. And that was like the first note he hit, all of us on stage immediately perked right up like, oh, it's about to be on. And it 100% was. It was great.
Wow.
So, yeah.
He's incredible. I mean, they both are.
The nicest guy in the world too. We just met, and like within 2 minutes, we're talking about voicings that Greg did and stuff. So people do covers the wrong way. It's hilarious. He's a great guy.
We had talked with Dwayne, right, Kevin?
Yeah.
I feel like it was almost a year ago now too. And I think it's interesting when you put people together, in that kind of space where like there's always so much complementary music happening, but like to your point, to be able to find that kind of environment where it just so naturally happens, to me, is probably one of the best things about it. Do you ever look out, in the crowd and, so you have people that are there, maybe not sure of what's going to happen in front of them. Do you ever just see that moment of surprise on people's faces when they realize like this is happening now? I mean, I would think from the stage, that's got to be such a cool feeling
It is. Islands in the Stream on the pool deck was one of those. Because it's one of those. It opens up, and you're not 100% sure until the vocals come in that it is what it is. And so they not only hear but like visually see
everyone humming in their head
up in the air, and then hitting the chorus, and we're floating in the middle of an ocean on our way to multiple islands. We leaned into it pretty hard for that song, but it's because it did the thing. That's the only, if I do Islands in the Stream at a festival in the middle of the woods in northern Pennsylvania, it's not going to hit the same way.
Not the same. Yeah. You ever think to do Rock the Boat by Hughes Corporation?
Good one. We'll hold it up, save that for later. That's real good. Yeah. I saw Anders Osborne sat in with Galactic this years ago on Jam Cruise and did Jet Airliner. And once again, that pool deck, when it gets going, it's definitely a thing to experience. I love it.
Yeah, Anders is touring with Tab Benoit as a
Oh, wow.
two guitar band thing there. So do you end up on stage with anybody else?
I didn't, but I'm real good about. My wife was with me this time too, which is great, and we had our own balcony room. So like I'm real good. I'm not looking to go sit down. I'm not at the jam room late night or anything like that.
Right.
God bless those folks that are. That's great. But I was pretty much in bed enjoying the balcony view, and we caught a lot of great music, of course, all day long. But they're definitely. I'm 49 now. There's a time where that clock gets a little bit past midnight and I was toast. It's 3 hours past my bedtime at home. So,
right, yeah, I'm planning on going to this fish festival, and I'm like, the last time I went to a festival was Big Cypress, so that was the last millennium.
We were just talking about that mine was, I think, before that. Honestly.
Really? I went to Big Cypress. I grew up in Naples, so I'd gone out to the reservation for years as a kid and everything like that.
Wow.
Many explorations of consciousness out on that reservation, in my formative years. So I went to Big Cypress, almost kind of not closing the door, but for me, kind of closing the chapter as far as going to a bunch of Fish shows. I was in my second year in the military. I knew I was going to be going to Bosnia the following year. So Big Cypress was great, but it would be another 15 years before I camped, period, after that experience.
Yeah, I keep thinking I need to find an RV.
Yeah.
I don't. And the thought of pitching a tent and having a blow-up air mattress to lay on for 4 days, 5 days, I probably would not walk for the next 6 months.
It's in August, too, right?
Right. It's a swamp in Delaware in August, right?
I often think of that Jason Lee scene in the movie Dogma where he talks about no sin greater or more pleasurable than central heating and air. It's a conditioning blow all over him.
Is that the truth?
We were joking that the Glen Close camping has air conditioned bathrooms, and that everybody's going to be hanging out in the
bathroom. Yeah, August is brutal pretty much everywhere, especially down here in Georgia. But I mean, on the East Coast, period, it's just hot in August.
Yeah, nasty. Yeah, you could walk through the air. It's like a wall.
Oh yeah.
So with spring and summer coming up, I know people are listening to this. You just did the Colorado run. What else do you guys have on the horizon coming up?
So we're going to Jackson, Mississippi, and back to Tipitina's New Orleans at the end of March, and then April, May. We've got a few private things that we're doing, but other than that, we'll hit the road again. I think in June 1st is going to be in Roswell. From the Earth Brewing is doing their outdoor music festival again this summer, so we'll kick that off. And then
Roswell, New Mexico?
No, Georgia, just north of Atlanta. Yeah, Roswell, Georgia.
I was like, now that's a party I might want to go to.
It's one of the multiple suburbs that surround that giant bubble of Atlanta.
The exoburbs.
Yes, yeah, but Roswell's great. We did it a couple of years ago. I think we did it twice over the pandemic. They were doing outdoor shows, so great folks over there. So yeah, it's pretty much like an Atlanta hometown show in summer. And then I know we're going to Knoxville. There's a lot of the outdoor stuff like Yeehaw Brewing in Knoxville, and I think there's one in Memphis. I think that same weekend in June. And then I know that at the end of summer in August, we're doing Pisgah, August 10th.
That's a great spot.
Yeah, I love it.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure there's things I'm forgetting right now without the calendar in front of me, but yeah, and then fall, I know we're about to announce some Northeast states and stuff like that.
Cool.
And there's some cool bands that I think we're going to be touring together with, bringing on the road with us and us supporting. So, yeah.
Have you been playing Black Sheep and the other one live?
No.
Okay.
Those are about
they're going to get their first taste of being played live. What this week in Colorado?
I hope so. I think people expect it. I hope so. We have to get together and really rehearse at these sound checks. So, fortunately, we know we're doing Sweet Oblivious on night one. Like I said, we're gonna play it in reverse. So we can get in there hopefully nice and early before the restaurant opens on Friday and really drill those 2 tunes down. So
there we go.
That's a cool venue too.
I love Ophelia's. This will be, I think, the 3rd year in a row that we're doing the 2-night run, which it's nice to stay put for a couple nights. The way the balcony wraps around is really great on stage. It makes the feel, you really feel the energy of the whole room around you. It's pretty cool.
I saw a thread online recently, and I was so glad that we were going to chat with you because, there's Residual Groove, the band. Yes. And yeah. And the thread, it was great because, you have the Perpetual Groove and then the Residual Groove. And so people were talking about, just the wording of everything and so much love for what you all do. But someone suggested that would be a fun bill in terms of even just the wording of
Can we get the Infectious Grooves back together?
Right, exactly.
Right,
my favorite albums. I got to see one of the few shows they did. It was the Edge in Fort Lauderdale. It was when it had Stephen Perkins and Trejo was playing bass and everything. I was the perfect age for that album when Infectious Grooves came out. The whole Sarsipius arc.
Right.
19 years old or so, 19 or 20. Yeah,
and they got Ozzy on there, so they had instant street cred for the older, the slightly older crowd. I'm 4 years older than you, so Ozzy's what made you say, "Oh, okay, I remember Suicidal Tendencies. Oh, let's put all this together."
Right, and then Jane's Addiction. You see those names start to drop in. It's like pretty amazing. We did a cruise years and years ago called Zingalati. It was a West Coast cruise. And Stephen Perkins was on there. I think it was Banshee was who he was playing with, maybe. And so I got to sit on the pool deck and talk with Stephen Perkins for a while about not just Jane's Addiction, of course, but Infectious Grooves came up quite a bit in that whole project. He's just the nicest guy in the world. Let me sit there and bend his ear for probably a good 45 minutes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Love it. I think sometimes people like that, though. On the other side, too, they're like, well, somebody actually gives a crap.
Yeah, we do. I think Stephen Perkins might have had some positive affirmation over the years. Jane's Addiction is no small band. So.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It's, that's cool.
He's a super nice guy. Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to throw out that you're up to, or did we cover most stuff?
I think you covered just about everything. Thanks again for reaching out and for doing it, chatting with us about all things Perpetual Groove. I love it. So really appreciate it.
If you are enjoying All That Jam, please like and subscribe to our social media channels at All That Jam Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or visit our website, allthatjampod.com. Make sure to sign up for our email list and tune in every week for new episodes.
Also, look for full interviews on our YouTube channel. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long.